Hi, I'm Tony Tarantino, and keep watching Ed Magic TV.
It's simple to see it's Ed Magic TV, so the world can believe it's Ed Magic TV. It's simple to see it's Ed Magic TV, so the world can believe it's Ed Magic TV.
Welcome back to Ed Magic TV. I'm Pete Allman. It's a beautiful day here in Hollywood. Still considered the movie capital of the world. Of course, we know that some great pictures have been made here. And one of my guests today that I'm going to be talking with is a gentleman that spans back through his family of 80 years of filmmaking, and not one picture that they've produced has lost money for their investors. They certainly have a great name. And with me is Mr. Tony Tarantino. Tony, it's good seeing you here in Hollywood.
Well, thank you, Pete. It's really a pleasure to be here.
Well, we're at a famous place, the Silver Spoon. A lot of people like to come here and meet and have their business meetings, like yourself, right?
Exactly. It's my favorite restaurant in the whole town. Every time I'm in town, I always come here.
One important fact that I want to cover today is the quality of filmmaking that exists in this country. And the question is it the responsibility of the filmmaker to put films together that are good for families, or is it the responsibility of the family to make sure their kids don't see the wrong films? Where does it lie?
You're kind of getting in between a rock and a hard place there. One thing we have to always stay aware of is the Constitution of the United States, and the First Amendment grants everybody the right to their opinion, and particularly when it involves the arts. All right, that's why you can get away with so many things that I wouldn't have anything to do with, but yet it's a legality thing. So I think, my personal opinion, the real responsibility lies in the family. Personal preference. It's up to us to protect our children against what we feel is not good media in any of its forms. But on the other hand, everybody has the right to produce and make whatever films they want to. With me personally, I love telling true stories. And I'm about to do one titled Prism. I bought the rights to the novel Color the Prism. You can see it everywhere. They're just doing the third printing. It'll be out in B. Dalton within the next couple of weeks. They changed the cover of the book to match my poster for the film. And naturally, they give the film credit for it in the book. But this is a true story about an undercover detective out of Tucson, Arizona, who infiltrates the largest drug cartel in Mexico, becomes part of that cartel to try to gather enough evidence to stop the drug smuggling from Mexico into Arizona. Now, some horrific things happen in this film, but what happens to real people in real life. And the message I see it putting out there, and the reason I want to do it, is it'll show young people what really happens to people that get involved in drugs and drug trafficking. It's a horrible life. None of it ever leads anywhere good. And this film puts it out there, and it shows it. And it shows some of the horrific things that do happen to people in that world. I had to go through DOD, Department of Defense. I had to get security clearance in order to see the records. They took me in a room, showed me the records, and I wasn't allowed to photograph them, copy them, or anything, because a lot of that information is still considered secret. But they said you could read it, you could use whatever you want in your head, but you can't have copies of anything. I saw the caves and the tunnels where they did all the drug trafficking. They had like mini railroads underground that go from Nogales, Arizona, under the border into Nogales, Mexico.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the things that go on in that world are almost unbelievable. And I think people really need to see that. But again, on the same hand, I would not recommend it for young people. It will be an R-rated film because of violence and other things that are in it. But it's a story that, in my opinion, really does need to be told. People need to be aware. So that's where that being between a rock and a hard place kind of lies. What is my responsibility as a filmmaker versus for children and young people, and what you're putting in people's faces versus putting out the truth and the news. Freedom of the press is a very important part of our culture. If we didn't have that, we'd be like communism during the Cold War, where you can't tell what is really going on. That would not be good either.
For the people out there, we want to cover the family ancestry, starting back with Dominic Tarantino, your father, who started in silent films, also as an actor, and all the way up to 2009, how every film that was produced always made money for the investors. That's really impressive. Not all families and not all producers have made money with their films, obviously. Let's talk about that.
That's true. And I can't allow my family to take 100% credit for something like that. The Douglas family, they've been in it as long, and they've all had as much, in fact, greater success. The Barrymore family, probably even more time than that, with tremendous success. But yeah, my dad started in films the late 29, 30, and all he did was westerns. He worked with people like Buck Jones, Tom Mix, Tim McCoy, Hoop Gibson, Fred Thompson, names that most people today don't even recognize, but they were the heroes of the 30s. Then in 37, he met my mom, got married, and then had to do what we so commonly call in Hollywood, get a real job, support a family. I come along, and that was the end of his career. So I kind of grew up listening to all of his Hollywood stories, talking about all these really famous people in Hollywood, and I just ate it up. From the time of junior high school, I was always in school plays. Graduated high school, went on to the Pasadena Playhouse College of Theater Arts, got my BA degree in theater arts. Then from there to a year in New York, worked studying under Lee Strasberg, because acting is just something I had to do.